Good evening, everyone. I welcome each and every one of you to today's free eye care webinar program, proudly organized by Treetop Vision Eye Center, Otako, Abuja. My name is Miss Clara Monsozioma, and I'm excited to be your host for today's session. Thank you for taking your time to join us. We'll be talking about a very important topic that is relevant in today's world. I hope by the end of this webinar program that you all go home with one or two things. But firstly, I would like to talk about our community, the Trevor community, its goals and its objectives. Most of you are already in the community, but I would also like to introduce the community to the new members here to have an idea of what it's all about. Our Trevor community is, we are thrilled to have you all here. Our Trevor community is dedicated to supporting and empowering individuals on their health journeys. Whether you are seeking for advice, sharing of your experience, or you are simply looking for a supportive network, that is the right place to be. We share different health tips, eye health tips, 3 times a week. Those that are already there know a lot about it. You can also share your story. You can connect with others who understand. You can ask questions and get advice from the community and from every other experienced community members there. You have access to valuable resources and information on various health topics. I believe that this is a very good opportunity for you to take advantage of the free services and products offers that we offer. And also, you can also have a free link to the webinar program that we are doing. There are a lot of things that you can benefit from our Trevor community. I do hope before the end of this, I will be sharing the link to the Trevor community, and I do hope to see you guys on the other side. Then let's go to the topic for today. Our topic today is impact of screen time on a child's vision. Parents, guardians, we all know that our children of these days, they're always with their tabs, their systems and everything. And as screen becomes part of our children's daily routine, phones, tablets, TVs, and even school laptops, it's very, very important that we parents, guardians, we understand how this affects their eye health and what we can do to protect them. I would also love to introduce our guest speaker today, Dr. Osazee, who is going to go through the important topics. We are honored to have him here with us. He's very good in his field. So I believe that with the little points he's going to drop for us, we'll learn one or two on impact of screen time on our child's vision. Thank you everyone once again for joining this program.
All right, thank you very much, Ms. Clara. Good evening, everyone. I hope I'm loud and clear. And I also believe you can see me clearly.
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you very much. I want to welcome us to this webinar series. I think this is the second we've had so far as this community is concerned. We had one in May, and this is the second one. I also believe that Africans would also we usually have this mentality of African time. but we don't need to wait because this meeting is scheduled to hold for 1 hour. And so that's the reason why we have to begin right away. So my name is Dr. Osazee Agbonlahor. I am a doctor who works with Peter Visionary Center, and hopefully I'll be impacting us tonight as it concerns the topic for today. So very, very quickly, we'll be looking at this topic as it has been explained or introduced by our host, Ms. Clara, and the impact of digital screens. Now, there are different types of screens, so we need to be specific here. Digital screens on children's vision. So by way of introduction, the question we'll ask first is, who is a child? Because we are focusing tonight on children. So who is a child? We may have our different, definitions of who a child is. However, we have a standard definition postulated by the United Nations, which is one of the formidable bodies that brings up information and that should be followed as far as global relevance is concerned. And they defined the child as someone that is under the age of 18 years of age. So the topic for tonight is going to be focusing on those that are 18 and below. And so by definition, we say that a child is someone or a young human being that is from birth to the end of puberty, which is usually within the neighborhood of 15, 16, 17, and 18. And that's why the United Nations Conventions on the Rights of Child defined a child as one under the age of 18 years. And so that's the first thing we are mentioning. Now, the second thing we should mention, for the sake of having good understanding of what we're going to be talking about tonight, is vision. Now, this is an area that a lot of us are not very, very clear about. We use or we misuse the word, or we interuse the word for vision and for sight. But I am here to mention to you that vision and sight are two different things, okay? In as much as they go together, and we mistake them one for another, but they are two different things. Okay? So sight simply is just an ability to see. Okay, so you have your eyes and you can see with your eyes. But the question is, what are you seeing? Are you actually seeing what others are seeing, or you are seeing what you want to see? So you may be seeing something and it is not correct. We cannot tell you that you have vision. Okay, you just have sight, because sight simply is an ability to see. However, vision is more in-depth. Vision talks about what you see and the ability to interpret that thing you see correctly. So you may see a tree and call a tree a human being. You may see a car and call it a house. Or peradventure, you may see a stone and call it a bread. You see, so these are this is the difference between vision and sight. So not everyone that has sight has vision. I'm just trying to scratch the surface. It's actually very deep. So in summary, how we define vision is vision simply is eye, which is the organ of sight, body, and brain coordination. So when that coordination is in place, then we are talking about vision, because I can throw something at you maybe a dangerous object, for example, maybe a stone. I'm throwing a stone at you, and instead of you to run away from where the stone is coming at, you are running towards the stone. You see, it means that your body is not responding the way it should respond, because ordinarily, by instinct, you should run away from danger. But if your body is interpreting that message incorrectly, you may run into danger, and that's a problem. Some people can't judge space, they can't judge distance in space. So they either overreach or underreach. A typical example is climbing staircase, and I'm sure some of us that live in story buildings or that have story buildings around us, at night when you want to climb the staircase and the place is really dark, you see that you are not able to judge the height of those steps because there's poor perception of what you're seeing. And at the end of the day, you see that you are either raising your leg too high or sometimes you are kicking the steps, as the case may be. So I think I've stressed that a lot. So vision is different from sight. I just want you to get that very clear. All right. Now, what are digital screens? Because these three things are things that we're going to be using to explain the topic this evening. Digital screens basically are electronic devices that help to display either photos, videos, texts, as the case may be. So any digital device that helps you, that projects something to you, can be termed as a screen. All right, so bringing these three things together, child, vision, and digital screens, what are they? What is the connection between these three? Now, we're looking at the impact of digital screens on the vision of a child. Now, when we are looking at vision here, it also encompasses the eye, because just like I told you, vision involves eye, brain, and body coordination. So we want to look at the impact of these screens, just like the host explained earlier, that the screens, the age we are in right now, which is a digital age, we can't help but use screens. We have digitalized to the point where everybody is exposed to screens. Now, I did a study sometime in 2019 where we looked at a condition called computer vision syndrome. It's one of the things we're going to be looking at again tonight. And one of the things we tried to look at the prevalence of that disease. And we observed that it has so high, the prevalence was so high at about 65%, as at then. That was prior to the COVID era. It was 2019 and COVID came 2020. So if that study is repeated, which of course a lot of persons have repeated that study or similar studies in the post-COVID era, you would see that that prevalence has spiked up to over 80, 90%. So what does that tell us? It tells us that everybody is on the screen. Everybody is on screen. And if care is not taken, we are, in fact, I would not say we are going, we are already in a pandemic, a digital pandemic, as it were. So the question is, some of these things that we are saying, or some of these concerns we're looking at, they have their own positive benefits. Of course, they do. And sometimes we can't even help because our educational system has even imbibed it to help train our children. So they give them assignments on screens or on the internet, and they have to access the internet using some of these digital devices. So it's something that has come to stay. It's a blessing. However, we must also look at how we can curb the negatives associated with it. And so that's what we're looking at tonight, the impact of screens. Are we saying that we shouldn't use screens at all since it is dangerous? That's not what we're saying. We're saying that as good as it is, as beneficial as it is, we must be cautious in the way we use it. It's just like saying fuel or your diesel or some of these, products. They are helpful at home. Because they are helpful does not mean that you just use them anyhow. No, they are helpful, but you must know how to use it. That's exactly what we're looking at here as digital screens. So let's look at some of these impacts. I've mentioned the positives already. It can help your child to be more exposed. They can enhance learning. They can do a lot of things. But we must also be mindful of the negatives. I'm not here to tell you the social impact it has. No, I'm here to tell you the visual impact, the visual negative impact, or the negative visual impact of screens. And that's our focus tonight. One of those impacts, I told you earlier that we did a study in 2019 about this disease we call computer vision syndrome. And the prevalence was really, really high. What is computer vision syndrome? Let me explain. Now, just like the word syndrome, okay? Syndrome means a matrix or a myriad of problems, a complex. All right. So when you say AIDS, when you say AIDS, right, you're looking at a syndrome also. So AIDS is not one disease; it's a combination, of different disease to cause one. So that's what syndrome is. And so computer vision syndrome simply is or is a state where you have so many, many, many negatives or so many effects of the use of screens or use of digital device and the negatives associated with it. So just like you see in this photo in front of you see that one that uses the screen too often a time usually will come down with strained eyes, okay, headaches, shoulder and neck pain, because when you are looking at your phone, maybe you observe your children one of these days when they are on their phone, they are usually in an awkward position. Even you as an adult, when you are holding your phone or maybe you are on the screen, you are usually in an awkward position for a long period of time. And that also has impact on your entire being or your physical being, your physical structure. You see? So it's both visual and non-visual concerns that computer vision syndrome brings to bear. So both headaches, eye aches, shoulder pain, blurry vision, and all of those, impacts. So when you have all of these things in one, we call it computer vision syndrome. And it's really, really a big deal today. Out of 10 people that uses screens, I trust that about 9 of them will have this disease or this condition. And so if your child is exposed uncontrollably to screens, then that child is exposed to this, or that child is at risk of having computer vision syndrome, which I think would not be nice for that, individual at that tender age. Remember, we define a child as someone under 18. So that child could be 2 years, that child could be 3 years. And the way it is today, our parents are so busy that if the child needs attention, the first thing or the closest thing or the quickest thing that you give that child is a digital device to keep the child calm. That has impact on the child. Okay, so computer vision syndrome is one of those impacts that screens or digital screens can give our children. Number 2, dry eyes. Now, I'm trying to just scratch the surface because I know my audience tonight are not, most of you may not be professionals. Some of you may just, so I don't want to go through, I don't want to give you those deep medical jargons. I'll try and be as very, very basic and superficial as possible. The most important thing is that you get the picture. So, dry eyes doesn't necessarily mean the eyes are dry. Okay. However, because it's, I remember one of my patients in those days, you know, I diagnosed a patient of dry eye, and he called me one day and said, his daughter, or yeah, somebody told him that how can he have dry eye? And one of his symptoms or one of the complaints he has is that there's water coming out of his eyes all the time. You see? So dry eye doesn't mean that your eyes will be dry like dried fish or something. You know, so that's not what it means. Dry eye simply, like you see in this photo here, it, some of the signs and symptoms are redness of the eye. You have some form of grittiness in the eye. You have this stinging sensation because the tears that are supposed to make the eye wet is not there anymore. That's why we call it dry eye. It's not there either in good amount of quantity or in good amount of quality. So you may have tears and have it poor in quality, or you may have tears and have it very small in quantity. If that happens, then the ocular surface is disturbed, and that could cause some of these things you're seeing in your screen now. Okay, and so when you look at screens for a long time, there's tendency, in fact, studies have actually backed this up, that when you look at screens for a long time, or when you're watching any screen, watching a movie, watching your phone, you blink less. Your blink rate when you're watching your screens is reduced. You're supposed to blink not less than 20 times in a minute. But when you are watching a screen, or maybe your attention, not even a screen, if you're paying attention to something, either a lecture, and your attention is really, really there, you blink less. That's the way it works. And when you blink less, the ocular surface dries more. And when it dries more, it can lead to this kind of condition. You see? So what a child is exposed to is this dry eye if they are not properly advised or monitored on how to use their digital screen. And trust children, if you give them that digital device, they are ready to use it throughout the whole day. Okay, so I've been speaking for a while now. I hope we can still hear me clearly. And we are following so far. I just need someone that will say yes.
Yes, sir.
Maybe not you, our anchor person. Someone else just say yes. Let me be sure that we are following.
Yes, we are following, doctor.
Thank you so much.
Yes, sir, we are following, sir.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you all. All right. So the next thing we look at is another impact we should look at is blue light exposure. Now, a lot of theories have gone around this blue light exposure, and the truth is, in as much as some people are there trying to just market a product, you know, for people to buy and over exaggerate some of these things, it doesn't remove the fact that blue light does not have its impact on the eye. And let me also mention this, that every digital device, every digital screen, let me use that specific now, every digital screen, what you have behind that screen is pure white light. So if you maybe by chance have repaired your phone before or your flat screen, you will see that if they open the back of that screen, what you see is pure white light, LED, light emitting diode. That's what is there. And every white light comprises of the rainbow colors. The rainbow colors, your red, your orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. The rainbow colors is what makes up white light. And so every white light has a component of these colors. Are you seeing that now? In terms of how dangerous these colors are, we call them colors are seen based on their wavelengths. Okay, I'm going a bit technical now, but I will try and make it very simple. Okay, so just like you have every form of ray, light is also a ray. Okay, so a ray means something that is, emitted in space. And just like you have radio waves, infrared waves, Bluetooth. Some of us, in those days, we used to use Bluetooth to send message from one phone to the other and all of that. So we have a lot of rays going on in the atmosphere. The same way light is. So light has wavelengths, and based on the speed of the wavelength is how these colors are perceived. For example, red travels in space by about 760 nanometers. And that's why it's perceived as red. So any color that moves in that speed is perceived as red. Any color that moves around or that moves in the speed of around 400 or so nanometers will be perceived as blue. So based on the speed of that ray in space, that's how it is perceived. Now, the higher the wavelength, the lower the energy. Energy there means the energy to cause harm to the skin. So the higher the wavelength, the lesser the energy. So for red lights, for example, that has very high wavelength as up to 760, they have low energy. Why for lower lights, colors that have lower wavelengths, like blue, which is around 400 nanometers, you see, has higher energy. So the ones that have high energy can cause more harm to biological tissues compared to those that have higher wavelengths. And so this is the theory behind blue light, blue light, blue light. And that's why we always say that if you are looking at your screen, which we have established has white light behind it, so that long time, or that amount of time you spend looking at that screen, you are exposing your eyes to the lower wavelength, which has high energy, like a blue light. And studies have shown that over time, you develop certain issues with your eyes, particularly at the back of the eye. All right? And that is a lot of danger. And some of those dangers or some of those risks can, if they have occurred, cannot be reversed because the back of the eye, which is the retina and the macula, those areas are so sensitive that if a damage happens there, it takes the grace of God for it to be reversed. So this is what your child is exposed to when you don't control the digital device they use. They are exposed to blue light, and that affects them significantly. Outside the harm it causes to the back of the eye, it also affects them psychologically. What do I mean? A child that is always on screens will have less, they may not sleep, they will not sleep on time, not me. They will not, because studies have also backed that up. I'm sure some of you, even as adults, when you wake up at night and you hold your phone, that light that goes into your eyes keeps you awake for some minutes. So you hardly find yourself going back to sleep because of the blue light you have exposed yourself to. So that in itself can also hinder your child's sleep pattern. And that's why you see most teenagers don't sleep at night. When daddies and mommies have gone to sleep, they are in their room watching TV or on their phones. And you see them, they will stay awake all through the night. It's when it is morning time, they start falling asleep because the times that they were supposed to be asleep, they were on their phone, and that has affected their sleep-wake cycle. We call that the circadian rhythm. So I can go on and on and on and on with this. So this is what your child is exposed to when you don't control the digital device or the digital screens they are exposed to. Another one, this is so deep, but this is one area that, of course, this is my area. Myopia development and myopia progression or myopia progression. So digital or near work in itself has been associated strongly to the development of myopia and the progression of myopia. What's myopia? Very simple. Myopia is a refractive error. Okay, what's a refractive error? A refractive error is an error of refraction. What is error of refraction? Okay, let me explain this very plainly. Now, the way we see based on light. That is why if there's no light in a room, you don't see anything. Why? Because there's nothing to be reflected into your eyes. Okay, so light shines, when light is in a place, it shines on objects. Now, this object now reflects these rays into your eyes, and these rays go into your eyes in parallel form, just like you see in the image in front of you. And as they go in parallel form, as they go through the eye, they are being bent. That's what we call refract. They are being bent to a point where the rays now meet at the back of your eye, like you see in this first picture here. Now, when that image is formed at the back of the eye in that way, you see that image clearly. So we call that normal vision. However, if by any chance that image is not formed on the retina or the back of the eye as seen in this second photo here, this one here, all right? If you can see that the point focus is before the back of the eye. We call this myopia. That image will not be clear, all right? And we have seen that near work, when a child is always at, a person is always, at close range with anything, not just only screen now, but even with books, reading. That's why you see most children that are very, very geniuses, basically, are always on glasses. Not because the glasses make them smarter, it's because over time, they have read and read and read and read to a point that they start having error of refraction, like myopia. And so they visit the eye doctor, and the eye doctor gives them glasses. So one impact of constant screen time or unregulated screen time is that your child is at risk of developing myopia. And if by chance the child is already having myopia, the myopia could progress further because of that near work, constant near work. So I'll just leave it at that, so that I don't go so deep into it. But that's what it does. It exposes your child to myopia development or myopia progression. So for the sake of time, I intend that this meeting shouldn't last more than an hour. I will stop here. There are quite a number of other impacts, okay? And you can also start taking note of your questions so that you may have heard somewhere or seen somewhere and you want to get clarifications. Please note your questions down so that at the end of this meeting, which I'll be wrapping up very shortly, you can ask your questions and get more clarifications. So I will stop at these negatives now. Now, let's not just stop at the impact. What's the way forward? What can we do? What's the way out? We've looked at the impacts. Now, what's the way out? Please, I would like us to take note of this. It's very, very important that we note this. Experts have looked at this and advised us. In fact, this came from WHO directly, World Health Organization, that if your child is 2 years and under, don't give that child any phone. No screen time. No screen time. However, if peradventure loved ones and families are away and they need to relate, those are few exceptions where you relate with them via digital devices. But when you say a child is crying and they need attention and you want to make them stop that drama, and you hand them over a phone, that's wrong. If a child is 2 years under, please don't do so. While if the child is 2 to 5 years, the recommended screen time is 1 hour per day. And that 1 hour is not for leisure, it's not for play. just like I mentioned from the beginning, I said that digital devices have come to stay. Digitalization has come to stay. We are in a global world now, and we cannot help but use it. So that 1 hour for this age bracket is meant for high quality educational content, not just to laugh and to gist and to play games. So that 1 hour is meant for if they have any homework in school, if they have any assignments to do, or they have to do some research. That 1 hour is what is meant for it. Why, if your child is 6 to 12 years, we are saying 2 hours of screen time per day. Okay. And we are saying also that it should be consistent because there are limits that must be set. So set consistent limits to ensure that it does not disrupt physical activity, sleep, or other necessary activities. Okay. So why for those that are older, teenagers and older, we also insist that it should be 2 hours a day. There are a lot of reasons why we insist on this because just like I mentioned earlier, some of these impacts can be very grave and they cannot be reversed. So it's best you limit the exposure of these children to these devices than facing the dangers associated with what it brings. So we say that teenagers above, although this is an age where even attitude changes, and when you tell them to go and sleep, they get angry. Teenagers are always teenagers. But you are the parents, you must insist because when they become adults too, they would understand. I usually tell teenagers that they cannot understand right now until they have outgrown this stage. Teenagers never understand. They never understand. They don't give benefit of doubt. See, so we must insist as adults and as parents or as guardians to ensure that we help them from themselves. They may not know it now. Okay. So those are the way out. Another thing we should also do is there's what we call the 2020 rule principle. We are saying that yes, you can use screens, but you must be guided or you must be regulated. 2020 principle means if you are watching a movie or you are on screen, you're either working or doing something, try to do that and observe this principle. After every 20 minutes, look away 20 feet for 20 seconds. 20-20-20 rule. Although this is very difficult, except you are extremely conscious of it. Because when your mind is taken off with what you're doing, you may not think of it. But by chance, just be conscious of it so that even if you don't maintain the exactly 20 minutes, but per time, just move away from the screen, look at the distance for 20 seconds. It helps the eyes and the muscles to relax. Very, very, very important. So you can also tell your children and educate them on that, especially when they are in school. Another thing is that you should establish healthy and reasonable screen time boundaries. I think I mentioned this before. They should ensure that screen does not interfere with their sleep pattern or their physical activities or even in-person interactions. It is so bad today. I'm trying not to look into the social aspect of screens. That's an entire topic on its own. I'm only concerned about the visual health concerns. Okay, but you and I know that there's a lot of social problems as it concerns phone or your use of digital devices. So I'll just leave it at that. But you must be able to set boundaries. As long as these children are under you, you should be able to set boundaries for them because you are protecting them from themselves. Now, also ensure that when a child is using the screen, there's a designated distance from the patient's or from the child's face or eyes to where the screen is. We have said it should be between 18 to 24 inches away from the eyes. This is to make the rays not focus more and go into the eyes. It spreads up because the more distance you give, the more the ray spreads. The closer you are, the more the rays go into your eyes. And that could also cause some problems. Okay. And we also advise that the screen should be placed at eye level. This would help for better posture. If it is above eye level, it means your head will be raised up this way. While if it's below, it means your head will be down this way. And this can cause, some neck concerns or neck pain, as it were. And also ensure that, because this idea of having cinema in your room or in your sitting room is not the best. You should have some ambience, around. Don't watch your phone or your TV or your laptop in a totally dark room. Yes, contrast may be good, but what you're doing is that you are allowing all the rays, to go into the eyes, and that will cause, too much stress to the visual system. Another thing you should also encourage your child to do is frequent blinks. I told you earlier that when you watch movies or when you watch screens, digital screens, you blink less. So you must take consciousness of that and blink very often when you are on screens. Otherwise, your eyes will dry out or your tears will dry out and you may come down with dry eyes. I think these and a few others, before I round up, I want to spend time outdoors. In those days when we were growing up, we don't stay indoors to play as children. Although the times have changed, where you cannot allow your child to be outdoors while you are indoors because of the evil that is prevalent in our time. You see? So, but you should encourage, if you can, give your perimeter fencing and ensure that the playground is safe. Allow them to do more outdoor activities. Because if you look at a child's life, they spend most times within a confined space. They go to school, they are within a box. They come home, they are still within a box. So when will they have time for outdoor activities? Outdoor activities reduces the risk of the myopia we talked about earlier. It helps the eyes to relax. So we must find time. Get bicycles for them. Let them ride around. At least 2 hours daily. That should be part of their routine. Then, of course, limits, or in fact, I would advise, don't even allow them use screens before bedtime. So 1 hour, 2 hours before bedtime, no screen time at all, so that it doesn't hamper their sleep-wake cycle. And also establish zone-free, device-free zones. This is very helpful, and I think it will help a lot of us as parents. There are places where phones should be prohibited. You should, in fact, if you can write it and paste it on the wall, no phones allowed here. If you give your children that consciousness of how to help themselves, so it's an agreement. You can agree, for example, in the dining, no phones. Any phone that comes to the dining will be seized. So when they are eating, they should not be looking at their phones. If you have family time or other quiet time as a family, no phone. These are device-free zones. It will help to help the family to even bond better. Because these days, everybody's on their phones and there's no talk. Nobody's interacting. There's no in-person interaction anymore. So we can do that and it can help us a lot. You can also say, so time, every phone should be off. Every phone should be off by so time, except maybe for one phone, maybe that of the parent or the guardian, that will be on for emergency cases. But for the children's phone, it should be off. They don't need their phones to be on at night. So this and many more can help our children to have less risks or reduce risk of these digital devices. So I think we'll end here because of our time, so that we don't exceed the 1 hour. This is already 45 and 6:45, so I can give room for questions, contributions, and clarifications. So I want to especially thank you very much for listening. Thank you very, very much. I appreciate your audience. So time for questions. Over to you, Ms. Clara. Thank you.
All right, Dr. Osazee, thank you so much for your time and effort and for this wonderful time with you. I really appreciate your time and effort, and I believe everyone here has learned one or two things from what you've said. Parents, guardians, I believe we have all learned one or two things from what our doctor has said here. So the floor is open for questions, contributions. This is your parents, this is your chance to ask questions on behalf of your kids. Anyone?
Yes, good evening, doctor. Good evening, doctor, and good evening, everyone on board there.
Thank you for joining us, sir.
Yes, sir. Please, maybe I'm the only one, but I guess there may be others. I need this clarification about the blue light effect, and as juxtaposed with when maybe when the power is higher. I can't remember how you put it. Then the less it has a less effect on the eyes, or the blue light when the power is less, it has less effect on the eye, or higher power, higher effect on the eyes. I don't really know how you put it, and I was wondering if the power is higher, how does it now have less effect on the eyes? I don't know whether I really got you right. Number two is that even us adults, we are engaged in some work that it demands you tracking things. Maybe you are tracking materials, for example, you are constantly on your laptop watching and feeding in data and so on and so forth. It's quite it's quite hard, sir. I don't know what your answer will be, but it's quite hard for us to keep off. Some of us have worked over the years on computers, and the damage has been done before we even know. In those days when you don't even have screensaver, this screen shield on your computer. So let me stop here.
Yeah, thank you so much, sir. I will begin with the last question. You see, for adults, maybe we would create another time to discuss the impacts for adults. But tonight's meeting was unique, or was designated for children. However, just to quickly answer that, like you said, some of the damage has been done already. And I know right now, most of the adults are already battling with these visual concerns that I mentioned earlier. So, well, there's a way out anyways, even with that. We still can cope. That is why we are here as doctors to help you navigate through some of these challenges you're having with your vision. So that being said, going to the first question. Yes, I deliberately didn't want to go so deep, but maybe I'll just try to go in a bit deeper so that you understand this narrative behind blue light. So I said that there are two variables you must understand here. So we have wavelengths, which is the speed of light in space, wavelengths. Then we have energy. So these two variables you must put into consideration. So every ray has this. So colors, like I said, they are rays. You perceive them based on their wavelengths. So a ray or a particular color that travels with a speed of the high speed of say 700 and something nanometers. Light travels very, very fast. Nanometers is something times 10 to the power minus 10 to the power 9. So fast. Okay. So it travels in that speed. The higher the wavelength, the higher the speed of light in space, the lesser the energy. That's what we're saying. So the energy then now talks about how the damage it can cause to a biological tissue. In fact, if you still want us to go deeper, you will see that under rays, we have the visible and the non-visible. So for the visible, visible is light in itself, is part of the visible spectrum of rays. While we have the ones that are not visible at all, okay, like your gamma rays. Gamma rays are not visible, but are very dangerous. You know, we have your radio waves, we have your microwaves. Those ones are not visible, but are not very dangerous. So that's why you use microwave for warming your food. Radio wave is what you use for connectivity here and there. They are not visible, and they pass through your skin and they don't cause any harm. So the visible spectrum, which is light that we see in itself, also has its wavelength. And like I said, the higher the wavelength, the lesser the energy. So if you bring the light that we know, which I said white light comprises of different colors, the rainbow colors, I called it Roy-Willy, R for red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet. Now, the way I mentioned it now, I've mentioned them in decreasing order of wavelengths. So red is the top. It has the highest wavelength, followed by orange, followed by yellow, followed by green, blue, indigo, violet. So you see that the ones that are down there, the green, blue, indigo, violet, are within the low wavelength, but high energy. So the high energy there means that they can cause some form of harm if you are constantly exposed to them. And so after that the green-blue hue within that range, you now start having the dangerous wave, like your X-rays, which of course is beneficial in medicine, but we also tell you that don't expose yourself more than 2 times a year. So don't go and do X-ray scans for more than twice a year, because we've seen that over time it could cause some form of metastasis that will lead to some problems within the tissue. So we advise don't do that for more than 2 times a year. And so after X-rays, you now talk about your gamma rays. Those ones can even burn through your skin. They can break through bones. That's what you see when they say laser energies. They can blast through anything. You see, so those are high energy rays. So the blue light, the blue-green hue, that region has some form of energy that, if constantly exposed to it, can cause some form of damage. And that's why you have this theory here and there of protecting yourself from blue light and all of that. It has its toll on the inner part of the eye. And outside that, blue light also plays a very, very important component as it concerns your sleep-wake cycle. We call that circadian rhythm. So there's what we call the sleep hormone, which is melatonin, and blue light helps in the release and in the inhibition of that hormone. So if you don't regulate the amount of blue light that you expose yourself to, then you have distorted or scattered that circle, and that would impact your sleep and wake patterns. Just to also mention this, I know I've said so a lot. Even within the blue light range, we also have the useful and the harmful blue light. So the useful ones are the ones that help to secrete melatonin, which is a sleep hormone. The harmful ones, outside the fact that they have high energy and they can cause damage at the back of the eye, they also inhibit the sleep hormone. So there must be a blend, there must be a perfect mixture of these two. The useful blue light also is useful for children, so you cannot deny them that. That's why we don't advise that you use blue blockers, for children, except what we call selective blue blockers. I'm going deeper now. Maybe I will stop here, sir. I don't know if I was able to answer your question, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
All
Thank
right.
you very much.
So,
Yeah.
I appreciate that question, sir. Okay, do you have any other?
Is there any other question? Anyone?
Okay, good evening, doctor. Thank you for the wonderful teaching. You said earlier that one of the negative effects of screen time for kids is myopia, and with time, it can progress. So my question is, how far can a myopia progress if nothing or little thing is done about it? Thank you.
Okay. Well, myopia progression uh, dependent on a lot of factors. Okay, a lot of factors. So you find that the progression rate differs based on the presence of certain factors. For example, if a child comes from a family where there's a history or genetic traits of myopia, so one parent or both parents have myopia, then that child is at higher risk of developing myopia than others. In fact, if one parent has myopia, then there's 1/4 risk for that child to have it. If both parents are having myopia, there's a 3/4 risk of that child to having myopia. So it depends on the factors. So that's one. Another factor that we also look at is the near work that that child is exposed to. If a child is constantly on screens, which is one of the things we are looking at tonight, constantly on screens, then that child is at higher risk of developing myopia. Either developing it because we don't have it before, or they had it before and it worsens. So the development rate or the progression rate is based on the factors that this child is exposed to. And I've just mentioned a few of them. Number one, hereditary factors. Number two, near work, which is very, very, very key. Okay, and that's why, in fact, in some climes, like in Asia, because myopia is very prevalent in that country, in that continent. Some countries in Asia, like Singapore, China, have had in their policies that school children, their classrooms should be made of glass, not brick wall anymore. Why? They want these children to have access to distant view. Because over there, myopia is so. In fact, let me mention this. If the rate at which myopia is developing right now or progressing right now, by the year 2025, by the year 2050, which is 25 years from now, half of the world's population will be myopic. Half of the world's population will be myopic with the rate at which it is going now. So you can see that we have a serious problem at our hands. And as myopia specialists, we have anytime we have the opportunity to explain this or to mention this, we are very, very passionate about it. So we take myopia these days as emergency cases. We ensure that we control the myopia from progressing if it's already there. And we also try to counsel patients or counsel parents, which is what we're doing again tonight, about the dangers of myopia, because digitalization has come to stay. We cannot go back to the Stone Age era, but we must be able to cope and curb some of these excesses associated with it. And so, just to say again that there are factors, a lot of them, that will determine the rate of progression of myopia. I don't know if I was able to answer your question, sir.
Yes, sir, you are, sir. But last question is that Can a myopia lead to total blindness if nothing is being done about it?
Absolutely, sir. Let me also mention that myopia, which is progressive myopia, let me tell you the dangers. You know, I showed you a picture earlier about the normal eye and the myopic eye. Now, the myopic eye is stretched. I don't know if I can take you back to that picture again. It's a bit stretched, okay? So there's a photo here. So the myopic eye is stretched. Now, so this is it here. This is the normal eye. So the axial length of this eye is normal, but if you see this one, it is stretched. Now, the stretching nature of this can cause detachments at the back of the eye here. So there are lots of complications associated with high myopia. So as the eye elongates due to the progressive nature, then there's a lot of detachment going on at the back of the eye. And like I said earlier, the tissues around this part of the eye are so sensitive that if anything happens to them, most times, if not addressed on time, can cause irreversible blindness. And so, yes, if you don't do something on time about myopia, it can lead to blindness. It can lead to detachment, retinal detachment, and retinal detachment can lead to blindness if not properly, promptly addressed.
All right. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. Thank you so much. Okay, this is 7 p.m. already, or a few minutes past 7. I think it's a good time to stop because we have programmed this meeting to be for 1 hour. And so I will hand over to the host, Ms. Clara. Over to you. Thank you, everyone, for joining.
Sorry, doctor, before you go, I'm of the opinion that if we have known ahead of time that this session is for majorly for the youth and the teenagers, the children, maybe some of these how do you call it, class of people, we will have been able to invite them to join us if we have permission from you for it. I think it will have made much impact on them than us transferring the knowledge to them. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much for that observation. Yes, you have the liberty to invite them. In fact, our target was everyone, both the teenagers, as long as you can access, Zoom and the link. It's not limited to anybody. So hopefully, we pray that in subsequent meetings we'll share this link to as many, and we hope that they join to get benefit from this series. So we'll be having another one hopefully by the next month. We hope that more persons join us. Thank you so much, sir. We hope to get this addressed next time. Thank you so much, sir. Okay, over to you, Ms. Clara.
All right, sir. Thank you so much for taking us through the key points of this discussion today. And also, I would like to thank each and every one of us again for attending today's webinar. I believe we have all gained useful knowledge of child's visions. Also, if you have more questions or you'd like to book an eye exam with us, feel free to contact us at Street Up Eye Clinic. We're always happy to help. We are located at Otako, Abuja, opposite Kia Motors, the Avalon Plaza. This is the end of this program, and take care. And also remember, a little change in screen habits can make a big difference for your child's eye. Do enjoy the rest of your evening. Bye.